I finally joined the Great Resignation. I'd been waiting to make this video for so many moons at this point that now that I can actually talk about it, it's kind of relieving. If you guys aren't aware of what the Great Resignation is and you are a 20-something in the workforce, I strongly suggest that you get up to date on that. People are quitting their jobs in mass exodus, and experts only think that this trend will continue in 2022. So in this video, I'm gonna go over why I joined the Great Resignation, and later in the video, I'm gonna reveal what I'm doing next. So stay tuned. First, you might be thinking,
well, Sam, your YouTube channel has kind of grown a lot the past year. Are you gonna pursue YouTube full time?
And while that is a very exciting prospect, I don't think that I would do YouTube full time. And no, the answer is no. And here's why. First, I'm a pretty risk-averse person, and I think that's because of the way I was raised and because I'm the child of immigrants. I'm supposed to seek financial stability, and right now, YouTube is not a stable source of income for me. While I am growing, I'm most certainly still in a building a foundation type stage if I do want to ever pursue YouTube full-time. But as of right now, I don't really see myself doing that. Aside from the financial risk of going all in on YouTube, I don't think I want to just focus all my time on YouTube. And because YouTube is a very creative pursuit, I think it would be very difficult for me to place all my livelihood on the performance of my YouTube videos. Having a YouTube channel and being able to make money off of a YouTube channel, I think is really great. But for me, I think it'd just be like too much pressure to make good videos and then stress about the metrics. I think focusing on the metrics will make me less creative and not enjoy making videos as much. Being successful on YouTube is really a balancing act of your creativity and what you want to post versus what other people would like to see and, what's popular right now. Because ultimately YouTube is a search engine and the goal of the platform is to make people stay there as long as possible. And if the stuff that I want to create isn't helping them achieve that goal, then I'm not gonna get that watch time, I'm not gonna get the clicks, and I'm not gonna make as much money. And I need to pay my bills one way or the other. This isn't me bashing on people who do YouTube full time, and if they do, Godspeed to them, and honestly props to you for taking that gamble. But being self-employed in general also just has its own difficulties. Like if I were to just work at a 9-to-5 instead, I would have a 401k, I would have health insurance like medical, dental, vision, all of these perks and benefits that are kind of undervalued in my opinion when people think about freedom and taking the entrepreneurship route. I think a 9-to-5 also gives you a great network of people, especially if it's an industry that you're interested in. Sometimes getting ahead in the world isn't about exactly what you know, but it's really who you know. Yes, YouTube has opened up a lot of doors and I've been able to make some really great connections along the way, but I would also like to diversify my network and, just get to know people outside of the YouTube space. And sometimes being employed at a company is a really great way to do that. So why did I quit my job? Why did I join the Great Resignation? Well, in general, people leave the Great Resignation because they feel like they're being undervalued for their efforts. They don't feel like they're recognized. They don't feel like they're paid enough. And there's a lot of other reasons that could go into why people would decide to quit their jobs. And I already made a previous video about the Great Resignation, so you can check that out. Video is in the description. But for me, there were pretty much 3 reasons as to why I quit. One is because I feel like my learning has stalled. For those who may not be aware, I was at my first full-time job out of college for a 1.5 years at this point. I was part of the marketing team, and the marketing team had about 3 people. While I worked with them, I really had the opportunity to be a sponge and just absorb so much information from them. And that's why I really enjoyed being at a 9-to-5, because I'm just learning so much. And there's something really different about having a mentor versus just consuming a lot of content on social media like YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, and having that sort of guide along the way to help you with your own individual journey, I think can be super important in your development. But after you spend a certain amount of time at a company, you may feel like you're not learning as much anymore. That's kind of a telltale sign that you should be looking for a role that has more responsibilities. And if you can't find that internally within the company, then it might be time to look elsewhere. I also decided to leave because I didn't think that this industry was the one that I wanted to be in. I work in CPG, which stands for consumer packaged goods. And if you're unfamiliar with that, just think about any time you go to a Walmart or Target and pick something off of the shelf. Anything that you take off the shelf is considered a consumer packaged good. I was in a CPG brand specifically for bottled water. And no offense to people working in bottled water, but it wasn't exactly the most interesting to me. I don't even like to purchase bottled water because of the environmental impact, and I typically use a reusable one. But the saving grace about this company is that they used 100% recycled plastic, so it was kind of a cause that I could get behind. But ultimately, I don't think bottled water is the industry for me, and I wanted to look elsewhere, specifically in tech or fintech. Yes, I know, I'm basic. Third was the rocky financial situation at my company. So I joined a startup, and startups naturally are going to have limited resources. One of those things is money. When you're in marketing, you ultimately need some sort of financial resources to kind of get the ball rolling, and this company had trouble doing that. Not to say that you can't leverage free channels like social media, blog posts, email to really build brand awareness, but having those dollars can really help. And based on the things that we were trying to do as a marketing team, the company couldn't exactly provide the finance for that. Not to say that this is entirely the company's fault, but sometimes I felt like my role as a marketer wasn't really being used. Now, I will say everyone at this company was super nice to work with and very pleasant, very kind, very helpful when they could be. But ultimately, I just wanted to take the next step in my career. Okay, so what are the things that I look for in a role? For me, there are 5, and this is because these are the 5 that my original boss, my very first boss from an internship that I had years ago, told me. So this is a bit pre-Panini, pre-Panorama, but I think they're still pretty relevant to today's world and work landscape. One is the salary and benefits. Obviously, you're working the job because you want to get paid. Being an employee is a very transactional agreement. I do this amount of work and you compensate me for that. Anyone who suggests that the job isn't about money is a liar, because yes, it may not be entirely about the money, but money is a huge part of it. 2 is the actual work that you do. So this comes to actually enjoying the day-to-day and the types of projects that you would be taking on. Like even though I would like the compensation of a software engineer, I would not like the projects that I would have to do as a software engineer. Number 3 is the commute. So this one isn't as relevant post 2020, but it was huge back then. At my very first internship, my commute round trip was like 30 minutes. And when I got to my next internship, it was an hour door to door. I just remember dreading being in a car for 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, like just going to and from an office. And apparently 2 hours is a pretty lax or a pretty good commute time compared to other people. And that, it just baffles my mind. So in case you couldn't tell that I'm a huge proponent of remote work, I wanted my next role to be at least to some degree remote, preferably fully remote rather than hybrid. I would actually really love to try out the digital nomad lifestyle in 2022, so fully remote is really what I was going for, and it wouldn't make sense to be hybrid in a different city, sign a lease there, and then fly out to different cities from my leased apartment. Remote work just helps you save so much time when it comes to your day-to-day, and you could use that time to get more sleep, maybe exercise more, spend more time with your family. Time is such a valuable resource that I think we as a society used to undermine or undervalue until the panorama hit. I'm glad we all got this wake-up call that we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, and work shouldn't be the center of our lives. I fully believe that. Number 4, coworkers. Are these people that you enjoy working with, and are these people that you would actually enjoy talking to? Are they nice? Are they supportive? Are they willing to help you answer questions you may have? Do they joke around saying that they're gonna get fired the next day? Because that's a workplace that I've been in before and it is not fun. Number 5 is the boss. Now, my very first boss in a corporate setting might be the best boss that I ever have for the rest of my life. And in that sense, I've peaked, which kind of sucks, but bosses are the ones that are going to determine whether or not you get a raise or you get a promotion. They're going to decide whether you actually get represented as a candidate or as an employee. They can be vital to your professional and personal development. And having a bad boss will most likely shorten your lifespan. People don't always leave bad companies, they leave bad managers. So now the big reveal, where am I headed next? Well, I actually just accepted a product marketing role at a tech company, which is the role and the industry that I wanted to be in since I graduated college. So I'm very pleased with the role, the industry, the pay, and it's a fully remote position, which is like all I could ever ask for. It's like almost too good to be true. It's still very much in its startup phase, so there's going to be a lot of work involved, and this may mean that I might prioritize it over YouTube sometimes, or that I might blend in more tech/product marketing content into my YouTube channel, or just show what a work week or a work day in my life could look like. Now, I strongly suggest that if you are looking to quit your job, that you actually find another offer and accept it before you leave. I think that's just the most financially responsible thing to do. And that's exactly what I did. And even though it might take months or maybe even a year or years to achieve that, I think it's worth the wait. But I'm curious to hear whether or not you guys are looking to be in the Great Resignation, and how has your journey been so far? Have you accepted a new job since within this 2020-2021 timeframe? Are you still looking? What are the things that you prioritize? I'm really excited to kick off 2022 with you guys, and as always, take it easy.